No, I feel without the headphones, I'm having more of a natural conversation. Like
Okay.
with the
Well,
headphones on, for me, it's like I'm at work. Like I do a
yeah.
lot of video editing and stuff.
Okay.
So
Yeah. All right, just set them down there. Let's get them out of the way.
okay,
Actually, this is a pretty tame situation that I'm in right now. Like, there's days where I'll have like 6 fucking ding dongs in here, and that's like real complicated. I
hmm
gotta make sure that the levels are good, even though I'm like multi-tracking everything, and I can,
adjust later.
generally adjust it in post. I try to get like, make sure I get the cleanest thing I can
Yeah, if
at
you're gonna
the
do
source.
something,
If you're gonna do something, do it right.
exactly.
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time doing things right and doing things wrong. It's all subjective, I suppose.
It's all part of the experience.
Yes, absolutely.
Mm.
When you're talking to people, I do find that the headphones are a little awkward at times. It locks you in
hmm
a weird way. And are you one of those people who has a hard time hearing their own voice? Does that freak you out?
Like I've had to hear my own voice often enough where I can tolerate it, but like to me, I sound like a cartoon cat or something like that. Like
Sure.
I can identify, like I'm at peace with it, but I know it's interesting sounding,
Yeah,
or at least to me.
I still have a really interesting time trying to hear my voice, and I've heard it quite a lot
Yeah, right.
over the years. The talking voice doesn't bother me as much now as like a performative voice or like a vocal when I'm like recording music. Self-producing your own vocals is
Mhm.
like a nightmare. We're going to get into all of the things that you do, which a lot of it has to do with music and audio production and things like that. And I've digested a bit of things that you have done in the
Oh,
past and more recently.
cool.
And a lot of it does tend to stream on like the instrumental side
Definitely.
of things. So I was going to ask about your experience self-recording vocals, if there is any. Have you ever spit hot bars into the mic?
No, man. Like it's I've been in like a bunch of freestyle ciphers like that.
Okay.
That's where I like to have fun, at least when I was younger. But I never once considered myself like rapping, or anytime I like wrote something, I'd read it back like, oh, this is so corny. Like I could just be so much more funny and spontaneous off the top of my head.
Totally.
But like, no, I've never tried to record any of my vocals. Like I'm very comfortable, and I've always been very comfortable in that like producer role, and just get people that are uber talented to just shine on top of like, the music bed that I've built.
Yeah. I relate with that in a lot of ways, where I almost found myself starting to do vocals as a necessity because I just didn't have friends
Yeah.
at the time. Like it was a thing where I got into making beats when I was in like, early high school, like 8th, 9th grade, very rudimentary. Like we're talking like Sony PlayStation, MTV Music Generator, making beats,
Dude, I'm there. I hear you. I was just, I was just talking to my girlfriend like a couple days ago, and God bless her for listening to these rants. But I was talking about how I made an awesome remix of The Way You Move. It was on Music Generator 2, I believe.
Oh yeah, the one hosted by Funkmaster Flex.
Yes. And that was like one of my like earliest like remixes I've done. Like I just loved it. And I still have my memory card. I still have the game.
Yeah, I still have it too. It's like burned into my head when you turn it on, and it's like the it's like the audio is so blown out. It's like, yo, it's Funkmaster Flex. This is MTV
Perfect.
Music Generator 2, baby. It's like burned into my fuck. 'Cause I heard it so much.
Oh, dude!
But that's where I got started.
Did you have like Wacky Worlds on Sega?
No, I never heard of that.
Okay, so it was like Sega's answer to Mario Paint back in those days.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So like,
was that like Genesis?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I have composed some masterpieces on that.
Oh, nice.
I have a Nomad too, but I think I like lost the battery pack or something.
Yeah.
One day I'll get all nostalgic and buy another one and see what's on there. Maybe put it out.
Yeah, it's funny. I recently enough during like, well, not, I guess it was like during the pandemic times when things were just like, I'm looking for anything to do and any sort of like online content to make, I guess, just to keep myself sane.
Mhm.
I like busted out all of my old MTV Music Generator cards and did basically like a live stream where, we just set everything up and I was just going through stuff. And, most of it was like, I don't want to say it was like embarrassing because it's like, what am I gonna do? I don't know anything, but it was still like cool to see it.
And I bet you had some cool ideas in there.
Yeah,
that like now that you would approach like differently and just make it better. But
what was actually really interesting about it was like there was still little nuances of things that I could still hear myself doing to this day. Like just things that are just like a part of my like creative DNA that I can't shake. Like even as recently as like a couple days ago, I'm like really trying to do this like hard, tough, industrial sounding stuff. I've been like really wanting to do a project like that, like since I was in high school. I kind of had a project that was somewhat like that, but not quite. And I was doing it with somebody else, so it wasn't like 100% my vision. So that's been something I've wanted to do for, decades now at this point, because I'm a fucking dinosaur. And the point I'm trying to get at is that I made this thing and it's like, no matter what, it still sounds like something. It's like it has like those little DNA things that I can't get rid of.
Sounds like you.
I was like playing it, showing it with my girlfriend, and she was like, "Yeah, like it still kind of has like a little bit of like a hip hop thing, and also kind of sounds like the Tomb Raider soundtrack." And I'm like, "God damn it!"
That's your thing. So you like hip hop stuff and like the like
that's
atmosphericness of
totally. So I think that's like where I got into like music production stuff, right? Like around that time, like the MTV Music Generator stuff. It's like the stuff that was really interesting to me was like shit like The Prodigy or Chemical Brothers, and then like all the like Timbaland era Aaliyah production stuff.
Beautiful,
and like that's and like that stuff is still in me. I can't get rid of it.
Mine is 80s synth pop. Definitely every track I like, no matter what, like I'll build something and I'm like, I kind of need some synth pads in here. Like always.
Oh yeah. My thing, I think the thing that I do the most is like anytime I have a beat, I go to that like old school Timbaland thing where it's like there could be an extra auxiliary percussion thing that's unnecessary, but I want it in there. It's like it's always man, it's a shit. I don't know what happened to that dude creatively.
Oh, isn't he still doing stuff?
I know he's still doing stuff, but it seems like it's just, I don't know, maybe his palate's changed or maybe mine has changed.
Yeah, both.
People evolve.
Two things can be true.
Absolutely. But yeah, I mean, just going back to what I was saying, like I started making beats on the MTV Music Generator and I was fucking around with my high school buddies, and like I'd be more of the guy that made beats and they would write like goofy songs about like like big fat titties or whatever, like similar, suburban white kids rap about just being dumb. But like we graduated high school eventually, and like I ended up like accidentally falling in love with music production. I got like a Korg Elect Tribe, I got a computer, had a little DAW, bought a turntable, started sampling records, getting into things, but I didn't know anybody. Like everybody kind of didn't want to do the joking rap stuff anymore. Everybody's moving to college, going to school, and all of a sudden it was just like me. So I feel like I started like really trying to like write songs as a necessity because it's like this needs lyrics, but I don't know anybody. So then I accidentally became a rapper, I guess.
I have found you.
Yeah. And now, going to what you were saying in terms of like feeling like things are like corny if you try to write things, is like I struggle with that now. So it's like, what the hell am I going to write about? I don't know. I'm happy that like my life's going well and I've had like reasonably like decent experiences, but like the most like negative thing that has happened to me in like the past 10 years of my life is like one major breakup, and it's like, give me a break. Nobody needs to hear a song about that. You know what I mean? So it makes it tough. Try to write through other people's experiences and things like that.
I've been talented. I've been I've been blessed or whatever enough to be always around other musicians and people to kind of fill that position. It's like everybody just kind of falls into place.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like over time, I have found myself as well meeting other great musicians, and I've worked with a lot of other great musicians, and I've found myself occasionally in that role of just like, oh, like I'm the guy just making the sounds, and they can do all the talented vocal stuff.
Exactly.
But an issue that I've had, an unintentional thing, is I got bit by the ego bug at some point in time. Now there's a part of me that's like, no, like I want to be the fucking guy out front here, But as I continue to get older and older, that that ego doesn't feel as sharp anymore. I'm kind of getting over myself as I'm cresting my 30s and soon entering my fourth decade of life.
How old are you?
I'm 38.
I'm 30. You're 38.
Yeah.
I am 39.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hey, we're pretty much in the same boat here.
Yep.
I pretty much figured that as soon as you knew what MTV Music Generator was.
Oh, yeah, we're the same age for everything you have in here. We were the same age whenever
totally
it was happening. Yeah,
totally. I'm sure we were in the Kmart toy aisles at the same time.
just losing my mind. Yeah. Everything is thinking of the possibilities.
Now, with you, we're talking a lot about me. We got to talk about you. By the way, we haven't said anything. Jordan Taylor's on the show. Make some noise for the internet.
Hi. Hello, Jordan Taylor.
The man, the myth, the legend. One of many hats.
Yeah, for
you
sure.
You have your hands kind of like in a lot of different projects, but the opposite of me, where like I have bitten by this ego bug and I feel the need to put my name and face on a lot of things. I feel like you're in a different role where, you know, there's a lot of stuff that exists that, you know, has your fingerprints all over it. But unless you really knew you, it would be pretty easy to kind of be like, step away from it. And it's not like so attached to yourself and your identity and like who you are as a person, you know, because like you're not like releasing music under your name with like your face all over everything.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I feel like
is that like an intentional choice or just something that kind of happened?
I think a little bit of both, really. Like intentionally. Okay, so the 3 projects that I like have going on pretty much all the time. There's Traxploitation. Right? We're not really gigging like we used to. I don't know if it's being on this side of 30 or the pandemic or whatever, but it's like after, you know, everything started opening up again, like the whole scene's different. Like it should be, right? I'm not mad that I'm not out till, you know, 4 a.m. like I used to be all the time. Like I'm okay. You know, I was getting older, so but we do plan to do like a Twitch channel and stuff like that, and this is just like it's like the most fun I have. Like Traxploitation is something that I've for those that don't know, Traxploitation is it's me and Joe Kennedy, goes by DJ Fadewell. We're a DJ duo, but we use Ableton Live in a way where you know, we cut up songs, every genre possible, you know, thousands of songs, and we just cut them up by like, you know, samples and loops. So we're constantly mixing these samples and loops. It's like the part of a DJ mix where they're transitioning from one song to the next. That's
constantly. Yes.
That's the whole thing. So yeah, we did that for like 14 years or something, and of those 14 years, I'd say like 10 to 12 we were like really
totally
like gigging hard and everywhere. So like that's the project that I'm most known for. But you know, life, I don't say gets in the way, but you know, it just happens and things kind of change. So like I said, we're still producing together, but it'll be a minute before the Twitch stuff goes out.
Yeah, it's interesting when you like think of the idea of like your art not necessarily having like an expiration date, because that sounds a little dramatic.
Yeah.
But like there is always a time where it's like, okay, like why do we keep doing this?
The energy changes, you know what I mean? Like whenever we're in our 20s and, you know, like partying all night, like after the show, having parties, you know, at our place. And
I'm also curious too with just like the demographic of people that go out to these types of events and like the type of music that you love and the type of music that you're mixing.
Totally.
Is there's a point where there has to be a generational divide where it's like, you're like cutting up like BG stuff with like Outkast and nobody knows what the fuck you're doing.
Literally. Yeah. Yeah. There is, we saw the writing on the wall with that. Man, I forget exactly when, but it was like in the New Belvedere's, right? And for those that know, they're 2 different places completely.
Yeah.
Same building. But we had played this set, right? We played like maybe, I don't know, an hour and a half. Solid Traxploitation, perfect. What you expect it when you hear us play. It's great mixing, great scratching. You know, all kinds of genres, tastefully mixed. That's what we're into, right? It was very good. And the DJ after us was like, wow, you guys are really good. Okay, here I go. And he goes out and he's just like train wrecking like Ja Rule song into NSYNC song but all the little kids there
Liked it.
that's what they're nostalgic for. I mean,
Yeah.
I understand it. I'm not mad at it.
Yeah.
But you're right. There's definitely a generation gap there. So like so I think we like to cater to in like that older demographic. Even in my solo project, Council of Saturn, I was looking at the analytics for that, and it's just people like 32 and up. Like it's very rare young people get into to my solo stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it is what it is, and I kind of don't even make it for anyone but me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. So that's a great segue into the solo stuff. Since we
Yes.
were talked about Traxploitation, now you're also doing Council of Saturn,
Yes. So
which is it's like a, from my experience with it, it's very, I would say like super atmospheric, moody, and like leans like somewhere between like anything from like more of like a lo-fi chill, like hip hop type of thing, but to like into more of like the 80s synth pop, very dreamy, dancey stuff.
yeah,
It's like a balance of all that.
I tell people it's like hip hop, house, 80s electro, and prog rock. Those are kind of all my like influences going into that. And that's that this is a project I've been wanting to do for a really long time. Like when I was in my 20s, I wanted to do this big orchestra like Sun Ra type thing,
Sure.
but it's all digital and stuff like that, and you got other instruments. We'll see. But yeah, so I've been thinking about this a long time, and a lot of the songs on the project. So Council of Saturn over the last year put out the Capricorn trilogy. Each one kind of has its own vibe, and I've been working on this for like 4 or 5 years, I think. And yeah, it's just like there was just like just stuff that I was just making, but I wasn't doing anything with. And then my girlfriend was like really encouraging as far as like I should put it out there. But I'm like, oh no, these songs are weird, like because like whenever I'm putting them together, I'm thinking of them more as like 3-act structures a lot of the times. Not every track, but a lot of them are like that because my goal is for the listener to just like you're just driving, you got to pick up your kid, you got to go to Ohio or whatever.
Sure. Yeah.
Like this is music like for that space. So it encourages you, the listener, to make up your own narratives. You know what I mean? Because it's definitely a lot. It's pretty cinematic too, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
So like that's my like goal for that is I want people to just make up their own stories and everything. So yeah, but she was really encouraging about getting that out there and that people might dig it, and people do. I'm not like killing it. I'm not. That's not what it is. But I've definitely been very happy with the feedback that I've been getting.
Yeah, well, that's great, and that's great to have like a positive and like realistic lens when like viewing the way that your art is being received by the world. I think that we're getting way too fucking distorted in terms of like our expectations and what we want our art to mean to other people. Like it's fucking crazy to be like, hey, here's an hour of music that I made. I'm not digest it.
Right. It's,
and like I think it's really important to just like do things for yourself, put it out there, and if it resonates naturally, it resonates naturally.
I think that's the difference between like in my 20s with Traxploitation.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I'm gonna be the best DJ in the world. Like in the world playing old. And now I'm like, no, you should like let's put this on when you're doing your taxes or
sure.
Or you just want a little.
Well, they're like almost two different things, right? Like Traxploitation and Council of Saturn are like meant to be engaged with in two very different ways.
Totally.
I think, right?
Totally.
Like your solo stuff is a lot more like personal and intimate and more like something that you listen to in your own, where it's like Traxploitation is almost the opposite. It's like
totally,
the more people you're around, the louder it is, the better it's gonna be.
Exactly. That's what I loved about Traxploitation. Like it was like this improv nature to it, where if say we're playing a gig and I look up, there's a bunch of people here from a bridal shower and everything. All right, we might mix a little more Usher.
Why not?
Just kind of vibing with the crowd's been great. But yeah, this stuff's definitely very intentional. Some songs are right in an afternoon, some songs are right 3 months, but you would never know listening to them,
Sure,
'cause
yeah.
it's just like just constantly trying stuff out, and you listen to something, you're like, "Ah, it's too much," or "It's not enough," or yeah,
Yeah.
you know how it is.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think that it's great to be able to have that, just like a creative release that you could put out there, as a receipt of your productivity, and to just be like, "Hey, I did this."
Yes. Yes.
This is something that I accomplished. It's a lot of work to just like put together a song,
Mhm.
let alone like a bunch of songs that maybe have a cohesive theme or not. But anytime that anybody releases an album, I'm just like, good fucking job, because it's a lot of
It's
fucking
not
work.
easy.
Like it's a lot of work, just, I mean, like technically, but also like, mentally, and all of the hurdles that we go through. Like, is this good enough? Is this right? Blah, 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 blah. I'm an artist. Boo hoo. My life's so
Mhm.
hard. All that kind of
Mhm.
stuff.
Mhm.
It's part of it.
Yeah. I, I always feel like the need that I need to okay, so you're hanging out with a bunch of people. Oh, hey, Brian, what are you working on? Like
Uh
that question, like both fuels me and terrifies me. Right? I always want to like have some like
huh.
those lull points where I'm not doing anything. I'm like, well, I'm just kind of like working on my house, and like that sounds lame. I'm like, I love when I'm like, no, okay, so I just put out 3 albums. They're pretty good. Blah blah blah. I have this gig coming up. This gig coming up. I'm working on these short films or these documentaries. So it's just like it's funny because it's like part of it is like, well, I like doing these things. I love doing these things. I wouldn't if I won Powerball tomorrow, I would still be doing these things, but all the time. But and the other part of it is like, please validate.
Yeah.
please please tell me this stuff is cool because I think it's really cool and I need to know that
Yeah. Yeah. I feel that so much. I always get really, it's like hard, because like sometimes people ask me like what I'm up to. And like in my head, I'm like, do you have 30 minutes for this answer?
yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And then I get in my feelings a bit sometimes on the opposite scale of things, because it's like I'm always it's like I feel like, okay, I need to like backtrack here. So like I feel like I try to do the best job that I can to tell people the things that I'm doing, right? And I know that there are people that are paying attention to what I'm doing online, even people that will like stuff that I'm doing.
Hmm.
And then simultaneously those people will be like, "So like what are you up to? What's the band up to?" And it's just like, you know, I know that like you're interacting with me online, you know what I'm up to. So sometimes it's just like a small talk thing, right?
Hmm.
It's okay. Maybe I don't in my head need to get into this 30-minute dialogue of things. Like just trying to have like the short form answer,
So that's good.
it's like hard. I just like I think that like a big problem with me, and I think a lot of it stems from those younger days of being isolated and making a lot of music by myself and
Hmm.
not, is I just overanalyze everything. I way too much time to overanalyze in my head, and now when I have social interactions with people, I'm like, I'm way, I can't just like naturally talk to people. I don't know why I have a podcast.
You I mean,
I'm trying.
you're
trying.
doing a great job right
Well, to
now.
be completely honest with you, a big part of the reason why I started the podcast was because I recognized this in me. And I was like, oh, it could be fun to try to do a podcast and see how that goes.
Hmm.
I didn't think I'd be, I've been doing it now for 10 years and we're
The
close to
local
500
scene
episodes,
podcast.
but I still find myself though that like it's easier when it's like I'm in my controlled environment. It's like I've had a little bit of time today. Like I know you as a
Hmm.
person enough that it's like I know what we're going to talk about. I feel comfortable about this,
Hmm.
versus like being blindsided at the bar and someone's asking me about something specific, and like I don't have like, I'm not in the right space to have that conversation.
I feel like the older I get, the more introvert I've become. Like
Interesting,
there's
yeah.
totally a time where bring on all that stuff on the
Uh-huh.
spot. I love it. But I just noticed like even like socializing and hanging out with my friends, I like to have people over. I like to hold court,
Yeah,
like in
totally.
that same way. It's like, well, this is a chill vibe that I've
Yeah.
I've built here.
I also I find myself too like in that space. I think that I'm sometimes a little too transparent with people when they ask me how things are going. Like I should just be like, oh, it's going good. The band's doing all this stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you but
But
you feel inauthentic,
but
man. You get
I'll be
you
like,
gotta
I
like be
can't do
real.
that. Right? I can't like do like the LA mentality of like always like pitching myself to every single
Uh-huh.
person. So they'll be like, how's it going? I'll be like, bro, this shit sucks. Like my fucking drummer's an asshole or what, you know what I mean?
Well, I,
And
I
it's
think
like,
that's even
and
better.
then afterwards, I'm like, fuck, you know, like I shouldn't have said all
No,
of
no,
that,
I
you
think
know?
you're saying it perfect. That's even better. Like, okay, you what conversation would you rather have? Hey,
Well,
how's it going?
yeah,
Oh, it's going good. How are you? Or like, how's it going?
yeah, fair,
Well,
fair.
that
Yeah,
draws you in right
yeah,
away.
yeah.
That's way more memorable.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Well, anyways, we're getting this is like turning into this is my episode. You're the
My
host.
third
Start
music
the beat with
project.
Jordan. Yeah. Yeah. So your third music project.
So we're probably gonna put it out this summer. Me and another local guy, Diego Demicelli. He's like a I mean, you could check him out. He has his own projects. He does like Ruckus Brothers. That's another thing that the people might know him from around here. It's like it's almost like a cover band, but he gets so many great local musicians to fill roles, and they'll just do like we did. We became really friends because the Ruckus Brothers did a Michael Jackson's Thriller. We played, the whole thing, and we had about like 22 musicians on stage, and like sold out. Mr. Smalls was a big show. It was a lot of fun. But so him and I are Midnight Culture, and we'll be putting out our album Neon Rain this summer. It's been done for a while, but we've just been like rehearsing it. You know,
Okay. Cool.
I want to be able to like play this live again.
Sure.
Like this is, I think, this project. It's I think of all the stuff I did, this one has like the most. I think it has like I think it's the most wide. Like it's not as niche as
Okay.
my other stuff. Like
Yeah.
anybody can get into this. It's pop in the good sense of the word.
Fair enough.
Diego like has like this Bruno Mars, Michael Jackson type singing voice, and he shreds. He's dope. And each track I tried to like do what I did with track exploitation, but with genre. So like, oh, this track is, my there's one track that's blues, industrial, and metal. Okay, that's that track. This track's like um old school R&B and like um I don't know, modern electronic music or something like that. But yeah, that's the third project. It'll be really good when it
Nice.
comes out. I'm
Nice.
very excited about it.
Yeah, I think that it's cool too that you're allowing yourself the space to not feel like, oh, I did something, I have to release it right away. You know, I
Yeah.
see that a lot more these days. And I don't know, not to like get into like social media again, if it's like an internet thing or if people just know that it's like super easy to get stuff online. Like,
Yeah,
we
probably.
could, we could make we could make we could make a song and like fucking put it on Spotify in like the next hour and a half if we wanted to right now from my
Yeah.
fucking phone. So maybe there's just like this immediacy where people are seeing other people putting out things and they feel like they need to do stuff. And like, I get it. Like I've been working on this fucking project with my band Normal Creatures like for probably the past like 4 years. And we wrote all the songs really quickly,
Mhm.
but we found ourselves in the same boat where it's like, we need to get the right band together to play this stuff live. I want these performances to be good. I want to make sure that like we're taking the time to make sure these are the parts, this is the way that we want the rhythm to be, like almost like over analyzing it. Like in my 20s, if you told me I was going to be spending 5 years on an album, I'd be like, you're out of your fucking mind.
Yeah, right.
But now it's like, how can you not spend 5 years on an album?
I think, there's something to be said when someone can put out something and strike when the iron's hot. And, I get that. But, there's this expression, energy flows where attention goes, right? So I think it's like good, like whatever the art project is, if you take your time with it, obviously practice makes perfect and so on. I always think of it almost like as an idea as like a balloon or something like that, right? And you got to like think about it, work on it, and that like kind of inflates the balloon, right?
Sure.
So I mean, you can just put out a flaccid balloon, cool as it'll just be in the river of ideas that just people just shout out, or you can really take your time on something and like get it up there. And even if it doesn't go where you think it is, like it's still like like we were saying about just releasing something, like you spent time and you did something, like whatever creative muse was moving you, you let it pass through you, and
Hmm.
boom, here's the art.
Yeah.
You know, I that's important to me. Um, and again, like, you know, like I was saying with transportation, it was all in the moment, right? Like,
Totally. Yeah.
but like I I think it's just like it's healthy, it's good, and it shows confidence in what you're doing. Like I stuck with this long enough because I believe in it, and not just me, like a bunch of people.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you'll believe in it too, rather than, hey, you know, here's this week's beat,
Yeah.
which is fine, and like there's such a place for that, and I listen to that kind of stuff. But just from like me personally, um, I don't know. I think it's so much more than just, hey, because here's some cool music putting it out there, like to a point. But you know, this is your art, man. Like, you know, you're spending time on this, and
Yeah.
time's all we have. So I don't know. To me, it's almost like a semi-religious experience.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I find that it's very, I just like, I want to be sure that I'm taking the time to like appreciate where I'm at in the moment every day of my life. And that's something that's so easy to forget if you get caught up in all of this. Like, I'm not doing enough to promote my music, or like we don't have good promo photos, or, you know, all that like hubbub, all the business fucking shit that like I've like found myself caught up in. It's like I'm
Yeah.
not even having
So,
fun. And
hmm
it's just like, okay, like am I happy today? It's like, okay, that the record's not done. That sucks, but like, are we working on it? That's what's happening. You
Yeah,
know,
that's
like
my thing. You just do a
just
little
gotta
every
be like
day.
in the moment. It's just like, look,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like, hey, you know, I got, it's like I'm lucky where it's like I have the ability to record this stuff. I have people that want to do it with me. I got like a good social bubble of friends, and like, you know, a job and a house, and like it's like life is chill. Like how, like, why am I gonna allow myself to like have like a borderline like anxiety attack over
You're just
this
inventing your
art?
own
Because like, I mean,
problems.
I've been there,
Yeah,
you
me
know, where
too.
it's like, like what am I doing with myself?
It should go out this weekend.
Yeah,
It
just
has to
like
happen.
that's just so
It's cool.
crazy. But like I find that like all of that is always just amplified by like me being on my phone, seeing other people doing stuff, other people playing shows, and
Mm-hmm.
that ego I was talking about
Yeah.
before, where it's like, I should be on that show. I should be doing this. And it's like, well, if you had the shit done, then it would be. So
Yeah.
now it's just not your time,
Yeah.
you know? And it's also too like, just because like I'm spending years on a project doesn't mean that they didn't. It's like I
Yeah.
don't know what their timeline was like. I've even had people come to me and say shit like, I don't know how you do so much stuff or how you get so much stuff done. And it's like, in my head, I'm like, whenever you see something like released, chances are I did that like months ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like this conversation we're having now probably won't be out for like 5 or 6 weeks, right? You know, and there could be a week where it's like, oh, there's a new podcast that came out, or in like a song, and I have like, you know, all this stuff. But it's like, yeah, that's like all like months of work that are kind of
Yeah.
happening at once. I need to like remember that when I'm seeing other people's stuff.
Yeah.
It's just easy to beat myself up. I shouldn't be like that. I need to just chill. I'm sure the drinking coffee all the time probably doesn't fucking help me either.
Nah, you have to. Your actions should serve your desires, but not in a weird way. That's
Sure.
That's something a vampire would say.
I mean, that's the scary thing
It is
about.
daytime right now. I am not a vampire.
Well, I mean, I do have all the windows are a little
This
closer.
would be a really good place for a vampire.
Yeah,
to hang out.
yes. How you know I'm not a vampire?
I don't. But look, I'm not judging anybody.
Yeah. Oh my god. But you know, that's the thing about like the ego though, is like you need to have, I think, a little bit applied correctly is almost like crucial when it comes to art. Like I don't.
Oh, you have to.
Yeah, like art without ego is just like toothless, right? It's like a dull Brillo pad. It's not gonna do anything.
It's like you're, I don't know, like TJ Maxx or something like that, and they're like, oh, here's a picture of a flower in a vase.
Ray Dunn. You know Ray Dunn?
Mm-mm.
Ray, if you go to like TJ Maxx or Marshalls, Ray Dunn's the one that does like all the various household items that just have like the text that says like Live
Oh
or
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
Breathe
yeah.
or in that very like almost like childish handwritten font.
Definitely.
That's Ray Dunn. She built an empire off that bullshit.
She's gonna come after us now. I didn't know this would develop into a fuck Ray Dunn podcast.
I listen,
It's not my style.
if Ray Dunn hears us talking shit, then the podcast is doing well. That's it means there's eyeballs.
You're
on
gonna
it.
go home and you're gonna get those letters at your door. It's like, I know what you said
in that font.
In the live. I know.
That is the funniest fucking idea for a horror movie.
Talking shit.
That's such a fucking funny idea for a horror movie.
Yeah.
Want to make a movie?
That's all. That's the other things I do, man.
Segue. I'm a professional. Let's go.
That was good. That was really good. So yeah. Okay, so we had the music stuff, right?
Totally.
3 music projects all over the place. My professional life, I am a video editor, video producer. Right now I'm working for Carnegie Mellon. I'm a video producer with their marketing communications team. In the past, I used to work for the Pittsburgh Steelers and in the like scoreboard room doing like live video editing. I've just been doing video since like professionally since I was 18, but since I was 15, like in earnest, like honestly, like my buddy's band used to go around these local battle band stuff, and this is like Western PA, Eastern Ohio, and I had this little consumer camcorder that I would follow him around with and make little documentaries out of that, and and I was definitely AV like a motherfucker in high school, loved that shit. So this has always been like just it makes sense for me to be in this realm. Like if you would ask me when I was 10 years old when I'm going to be grow up, I would have said either an animator or movie director or something like that.
Yeah.
So this is just what I do for money, and it's what I have my degree in,
Yeah.
But I also do like cool things whenever I can for it. Recently I was awarded a grant from the Advancing Black Arts grant with the Pittsburgh Foundation and Heinz Endowment to finance. I mean, it's not to get started. Finance this pilot that I want to shoot called All Style. So like I used to mentor a lot. And one of my students, like this kid Christian, he goes by Jetta. He's a dancer. Like I watched him discover his love for dancing and just get better and better and better. Now, like you can ask anybody, like this guy's at the top. In 2016 or 17, I was awarded another grant. I was going to I got this grant to make music videos for Traxploitation, but I was sitting at a light thinking about it one day, and I was thinking how I didn't want this just to be the Jordan Taylor show. Like how how can I take this money and do something more expansive with it?
Sure.
And then when I had that thought, I look over and I see Christian just dancing down the street, his headphones on. So I pull over, bullshit with him, take him out, buy him a sandwich to hang out, and he was showing me that, this whole dance community, like on Instagram and everything. And he really likes these guys out in LA. And I was like, yo, like, let's fly you out to LA. Let's meet these guys. And so like he was really young. He had never left Pittsburgh before. And then, flying out to LA and meeting some of like his dance idols and them giving him pointers, like he came back and he was just like leveled up. Then he's dancing at like the Pittsburgh Arts Fest, and he gets like discovered by this company in New York that does like these like flash mob dance and all kinds of stuff where people need to hire dancers. So then he spends his senior year in New York just dancing, and like he'd be one of the kids like you would see like in the subway or in Times Square. So so me and my buddy Andy, we took a couple cameras and just went up there and like captured the whole thing. So I've been like tracking this guy's career. So the show's going to be it's going to be like a travel log style dance show where you go to a different city and then you learn about 3 different dance cultures in that city, because I want to show the similarities and differences between as many as I can show. So Pittsburgh, obviously we're doing, starting home for the pilot. We're going to do hip hop, ballroom, and West African style dancing. And it's not just like, you're not going to just learn to dance. We're also going to explore the fashion culture that goes along with it and the music culture that goes along with it too. and Christian or Jitta is the host, and this kid's a star. Like he has like that presence.
Yeah.
And so instead of going to a restaurant or a landmark, he's gonna find the dance spots, and at the end of it, he'll probably put it all together and you know put some kind of dance together. That's his department.
That's awesome.
And yeah, so I got that one going, and there's 2 other shows I definitely want to do too, but that's the one I'm focused on right now. Just kind of put it out online and see where I can go to next, and maybe get a grant to go to Baltimore or Atlanta or New York. It's kind of just keep doing this and exploring this, and I think it'd be interesting.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun and like a really cool way to learn about just different things that are like adjacent to what we do, but operate in like a completely different sphere. I find that a lot just over the years of like hosting this podcast when I've like talked with people about various things like that. And it's just like, wait, what's happening? Like where are you doing this?
Yeah.
What's that place? Really? Like I drive past there every week. I didn't know all of this was going on there. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But I think it's so easy to, get caught up in your own passion and your own bubble, that you kind of have these blinders on to all the other culture and art that's going on around you.
You only have so much bandwidth, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I used to, when I was younger, I'd be like, oh, why doesn't everyone know about all these cool things? But now I'm just like, in my older age, like, look, I'm not even trying to do all that. Yeah. I'm good with what I got, and I love and will support people doing their thing. But yeah, you only have so much bandwidth.
Yeah, it's really hard to like, digest things and to learn about everything, especially like at the level that I think things like deserve attention.
Totally. And whenever I get into something, I get into it, right? I gotta know the history and everything about it. So like I know that about myself. So I'm like, well, let's chill. let's explore this one a little later.
Yeah.
We don't have to go all in on that right now.
Yeah. Like people like bring up like a band. Like, have you ever listened to that band before? And I'm just like, I haven't. They have too many albums. I don't even want to bother. And then they look at me like I'm crazy. And it's like, oh, I can't just like listen to a song or two and decide if I like a band. It's like, I want to know the whole spectrum. And if your band has like, a couple decades worth of music at this point in my life, you're fucked. It's hard for me to dig into it.
It's like an anime, right? Like,
exactly
someone's
like that.
Like I have friends like, oh, you would love Bleach. And I'm like, there's no way. There's too many episodes. I'll never do it.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. It's like when I grew up with a lot of anime stuff, and through middle school and high school, I was really into enough the stuff that it wasn't as accessible as it is now. Like if we had fucking like Crunchyroll or whatever when I was in high school, it would have been fucking game over.
Bro.
You know what I mean?
It was Suncoast Video.
Yep.
Random. I don't know what this is. And $30 on 2 episodes of Cutie Honey or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
And not even knowing what I'm buying.
Yeah, absolutely.
We watch Perfect Blue like that. Like, wow. And this isn't like, like I'm loving anything like Dragon Ball, showing an animated, it's all day. And then I watch this thing and I'm like, oh
yeah,
God.
Yeah. Perfect. I remember. So actually, I have a funny Perfect Blue Suncoast Video story.
Oh, I'd love to hear it.
So I would always go to the Suncoast Video in Monroeville Mall. I don't know which mall you were. Were you Century 3?
No.
Did you grow up in Pittsburgh?
No, I grew up in Newcastle, Pennsylvania.
Okay, all right.
So it was either like Newcastle or Youngstown areas.
Got you. Okay. So in Monroeville Mall, that was my mall rat mall. And basically we had this thing where me and my buddies would go out to the mall every weekend, and like my mom would leave me like a $20 bill or whatever, and like I started like saving up my money so I could start like getting like VHS tapes and shit like that. And like it got to a point, like I started working at Taco Bell and stuff, and I had some money, so every week I would go out and I would get like a new tape. And I was like getting like like Tenchi Muyo stuff, like the old Dragon Ball Z stuff. I'm trying to think the Bubblegum Crisis,
Street Fighter 2, the movie,
the Street Fighter 2 movie. That shit is hard. Soundtrack goes amazing. Don't get me started on
like
that.
Top 3 anime movies all time.
So fucking good. But it's funny. Like I was just listening to KMFDM somewhat recently, and they have that one song in there. It was actually that song, that KMFDM song was like it was like the song that was on like the manga commercial roll, like the teaser
I
roll
know
for all this stuff.
exactly what you're
Yeah.
talking about.
But yeah, that record smacks. But anyways, perfect. So I was buying stuff all the time. And I was still pretty young at this point. So I was maybe like 16 or 17. And I remember like I was like, this looks cool. I want to get Perfect Blue. And like there was this lady that worked at Suncoast Video. An older woman, had like long gray straight hair, always tied back in a ponytail. I don't remember her name, but she like knew about anime, and she was like very much always like would like point in the directions, like if I wanted to check out a new series or something, like, you know. I remember I wanted to get this, and like she was like really hesitant about selling it to me, because like she was like, there's like some pretty intense stuff in here, and I don't know if I should like sell this to you or not, because I guess technically she could have not sold it to me because I was still like underage. But because like I had been buying so much stuff, she was like, you know, I think you can handle it, like, but just so you know. And I mean, there is some fucking intense stuff in that.
Yeah.
But I remember like after watching that, it was just like, it definitely had shifted.
Yeah.
But also like, you know, at that point, like I had already seen like Ninja Scroll and Akira and all this stuff. So,
oh yeah.
You know,
I think that was like a rite of passage for people in the late 90s, like Ninja Scroll. Like I just smoked some weed out of a pop can.
I remember
in a basement watching
Ninja Scroll was actually one of the first anime movies I ever saw. So what happened? So this story, my anime journey starts at Dollar Tree, where there was like a grab bag of comics. Like they were selling like, it was like, you know, 5 comic backs in like a Ziploc bag for like $1.
Oh yeah.
And I got one day, and there was one of the Akira books in there.
No way.
And I was like, God, I was like probably like 8 or 9, you know, like somewhere maybe 10, you know. And I was like, it looked different than everything else. Like it was a thicker book. Color pages, the art was different than everything else, and it just really stuck out to me. And then fast forward, one day we're at Blockbuster Video, and they had like the Japanimation shelf.
I was just thinking of that word.
And I remember seeing, I'm like, oh, there's a movie for the thing I have a comic of. So like my mom rented it for me, and like my mom was always a little disconnected, you know.
Oh, let's watch the movie.
So I saw Akira, and I didn't fucking get it. I was like, what? This is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
So next time we went to Blockbusters, like, I'm going to go back to that shelf, and I'm going to find something else. So the second movie I saw was Ninja Scroll. And I remember like in the very beginning, that like Stone Rock MFer starts getting all SA with that lady. And I remember like turning off the tape, and then like waiting for my mom to go to sleep, and then like sneaking back out and watching the rest of Ninja Scroll. It just looked cool. I mean, like the cover, like there's no way that like
ninjas.
Yeah, it's fucking sick. But yeah, anyways, that's where it all started. And then from there, it was just like a wormhole. I ended up finding, my uncle knew everybody that worked at IDES at the time.
Oh man,
and I would go down the IDES all the time with my uncle. And when I was a kid, I would always be more into like looking at records and stuff like that. And you know, be like the Anthrax, Iron Maiden, Megadeth. I liked all the heavy metal stuff when I was a kid. But then it shifted. I started always wanting to go to the movies, and they had a Japanimation section. And I mean, a lot of the stuff that they had in hindsight ended up being like bootleg hentai. So I saw a lot of stuff that I shouldn't have when I was a kid. But that's it, all kind of stemmed from that.
Yeah, me and my friends were it started with me with episodes of Dragon Ball, like that would come on like UPN or something like that, like 6 a.m. So I'm getting ready for school, and I'm like, what's this show? This looks stupid. And then, you know, well, what's this stupid green guy doing on this show? Okay, that was pretty cool. They're slowly getting into it. Then I had another friend who was into it too. And then we really got into it, and we tell our buddy, like, you got to watch a show. It's so cool. He goes, okay, I'll check out an episode. And it's like one of the episodes where like Gohan is like, just surviving. He's like, so this show about some little kid getting chased by saber-toothed tigers. This is what's hot. We're like, keep watching it. But we all eventually, this is like 7th, 8th grade. We all eventually, our whole little crew pulled. It was like milk money style. Like however much cash you had, we all piled it up, and we would buy fan subs off like Angel Fire sites and stuff, and like trade video games and stuff for it. And we had this big box. every episode of Dragon Ball, every
Uh,
episode of Z, GT, and all the movies just on like just
yeah,
huge things as VHSs. And every weekend we just go over someone's house and watch that the entire weekend.
yeah,
And then after that, yeah, the Suncoast videos and Ninja Scrolls and all
uh-huh.
that. Um, yeah, man, it was like so like rare. It was like this like little rare thing. Now like it's so easy and common. I
Oh,
I can't keep up. I have younger friends who are like, oh, you got to watch this one, this one, this one. I'm like, it's just there's just too much anime
it's
now. I
insane
mean,
now.
good
Like,
for you guys, good for the younger kids
yeah,
because it was not like it
well,
is.
it's so crazy to me because like I've had this thought a lot, and I'll get to the point. Hopefully, I don't get too sidetracked here, but it's like the anime stuff is everywhere, right? Like, I can go to Target and stub my toe on like a Death Note plushie or
It's
something,
more
and it's just like it's everywhere. Like you can't drive 10 minutes without seeing somebody that has like a bleach decal on their
it's like
car,
sports.
and it's like crazy.
So,
And like you see the stuff in all of these stores everywhere where it like used to be like the dusty corner
yeah.
of like the one place. It's just like, and I've like had this thought, and this isn't even just like with anime, but it's things in general. But it's like, what is counterculture anymore? Like, does counterculture
Mm.
exist? And
Well,
and also, does counterculture need to be like a thing that is like hidden? I don't know. It's just weird when I like walk past Hollister and see like a Metallica crew neck on the rack in Hollister,
yeah,
or
yeah.
like like there's like most malls now. The only stores that are even open, there'll be like 3 or 4 different like anime or trading card or tabletop gaming, like all this. That's like
Mhm.
it's like that's the stuff that's keeping a lot of these places afloat, because like maybe the people that are into that stuff are the only people that are spending money on physical goods still.
Mhm.
I don't know what it is, but it's just interesting to me, this idea of counterculture.
Oh, I mean, it definitely still exists. It's just not
But like, what
the
is it?
things that
Yeah, it's
that,
not
that we.
those things. Like, so
Yeah.
what is counterculture today?
Oh man, you'd have to ask someone in that
I
culture,
guess
right?
so.
And,
Yeah,
I think it's like easier because with the internet, you can find your community so much
totally.
easier, and you can find those things. Like, dude, I remember going to flea markets hoping I could find someone's VHS of like a Transformers episode.
Yeah.
Now you just
I
it's
I
everywhere.
think I also need to like have a bit of like a reality check in knowing that like if I knew about something like Ninja Scroll when I was 10 years old,
Mhm.
it couldn't have been that counterculture.
Yes,
You know what I
yes and
mean?
no, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I,
Like
I I think it's
there's
like a
maybe
relative
like a
statement.
dumb luck type of thing, right?
Uh-huh.
But you know, it's so funny. Like even like when I think about like oh, I like the underground music that I liked when I was like 13. It's like you were 13. Like how, and also the internet wasn't like as much of a thing as it is now. Like I can understand like getting into like some obscure rabbit hole now on the internet and being like, but like it's like okay, like this is all stuff that I was still finding at a retail level at a shopping mall.
Yeah. I really didn't start getting into like niche crazy stuff until like Napster and
Yeah.
everything like that. And then I was like, oh, this song's called Fish Heads. Who's Dr. Demento? Or or like
Yeah.
taking, like something I wouldn't spend money on, right? But
Yeah.
like yeah, just being the internet, yeah, the internet killed all that niche stuff.
Yeah, I
But
guess
hey
like
man, it's
that
fine. Maybe
totally.
maybe that was
Totally, like countercult. It doesn't need to like exist. I don't need to have like some sort of like that's kind of like where ego goes wrong, right? Of this like I know about this cool stuff nobody else should.
yeah.
It's definitely not that. It's just interesting to me that like what is the thing that people have to like dig deep for anymore? Maybe it just doesn't exist with the
Oh,
internet.
I'm sure it does, man. I'm sure it's out there. You're just too much of a decent person not to have to go dig deep in those.
Yeah, maybe. Like
Yeah, there's a lot of
but is
stuff
there
you
like
gotta
some
look
other
for.
weird kind of like thing like maybe like oh like anime or Japanese animation is like surface level now, but maybe like there's like some weird Brazilian stuff that's popping off that we don't know about
Oh,
that the kids are crazy.
100%.
I have no idea.
Yeah, all the time, 100% constantly.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun. I was like I was in California recently for work, and I took some of my free time to do a little record shopping because I'm a professional and that's what you do.
Mhm.
And there was this one record store that I went to in Bakersfield that had the craziest selection of obscure Brazilian thrash metal. Like all these bands I've never heard of. I'm like, what the fuck is all this stuff? Like somebody obviously must have dumped like a collection there. and like the stuff is super fucking rare, and
Hmm.
every fucking thing was like 50 or $60. So it was like, I don't know what any of this is. I don't have the time to look it up. I didn't get any of it, but it was
Hmm.
crazy just to see it. Like this whole like world of like early 90s Brazilian thrash metal, and like
Yeah.
somebody was all in on it.
Yeah. Yeah. And you'll never run out of those experiences.
Uh-huh.
I have a group of friends, right? Like there's every week for the last 14 years, anywhere from 4 to 12 people, we get together over someone else's house every week and we watch bad movies, right? Anyone that knows like me pretty
Uh-huh.
close knows Wednesday nights we gotta you gotta do something else because that's bad movie night.
Like old stuff or current stuff?
We lean old, but every now and then like we just watched Madam Web a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
That like when that came out, everyone was like, "This is a really bad movie." I'm like, I don't know. I watched some pretty bad movies. I'll be the judge." Man, they're right. Believe the hype. That's a real piece of shit. And it's if they just had Adam Scott look at the camera a couple times, they could have made it a comedy, and it would have done
Sure.
it would have done really well. But yeah, all kinds of stuff. But like, I definitely gravitate around like the like 80s, early 90s. There's each of us there's 4 people that host, and everyone kind of has like the genres they like kind of dip into. And I don't know, it's fun because like when we're talking about just like you'll never run out of these things. I'm like, I'll never run out of bad movies. I don't know. That was
Oh, totally. Yeah, it's the thing is like I feel like it was definitely a moment looking at through those records where it's like I feel like, okay, I have a majority of the stuff that like I grew up with and the stuff that I loved in high school. Like that stuff exists, right? And you get to this point where you think that like you know it all. And then that was a bit of an awakening moment where it's like I don't know anything about any of these bands, and if I wanted to, this could be the next 3 to 4 years of my life, probably just diving into
Yeah.
this, if going back to what we said before, I had the time to put into like, open up that Pandora's box and start learning about all of these things.
It's so fun to like kind of explore that. Like, so whenever like my musical journey is like, I grew up listening to R&B and rap all the time. That's it. And then I got to give credit where credit's due. New metal piqued my interest. My one buddy's like, "Hey, check out this band Korn," and I was like, "Oh, cool! Check out this band Limp Bizkit. Oh, whoa, they got a rapper. Oh, Method Man's rapping with them. I know who that is."
Yeah.
So then I started listening to that stuff, and then that got me the System of a Down, and I was like, "Hold on, this here is really speaking to me." So then I get caught up in that whole world, System of a Down, like I don't know, Mudvayne and all that stuff, and then. And I kept going like back further and further. Now I'm in my like 80s thrash phase, right?
Oh,
so
nice.
I'm just listening to a lot of that stuff. And then at the same time, I'm like, oh, what was going on with R&B? Like I'll just pick a genre of music and just explore it and explore it and explore it. Yeah, and then I got into Hendrix really, really hard and heavy for a bit. And then I'm in college and I start doing mushrooms and stuff. And now I'm listening to Pink Floyd and and Zeppelin,
Sure,
like that. And then I'm like, okay, I'm done with that. Like, what's going on with like electronic music? And then Daft Punk, I found them really early on actually, and yeah, and it just kept going in that direction. And then I started hanging out with JoJo a lot, and then we're listening to like Souls of Mischief and like Hieroglyphics, those cats. People Under the Stairs, that's my shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's been kind of like varied. And then over COVID, I got real deep into Sturgill Simpson.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, man, I just love like the journey of like finding a new artist or genre and just like that's what I'm about right now.
Yeah, I feel like we connect and I think we engage with art in the same way, where I find that some people are like, they need to know like, okay, this is like the analogy I can make, right?
Mhm.
Like if they're in a food court, it's like, I'm in the mood for this kind of food. I'm not going to look at any of the other places. I'm going to go to that one place and get the one thing that I like. And a lot of people engage with art like that. But I feel like I walk into a food court and I'm like, what smells good?
Yeah.
And just kind of let myself, navigate like what, no expectations, no whatever. It's like I don't have like a particular style of music or a particular type of art that I need to like identify myself with, or like, oh, if I'm not listening to heavy metal, I'm worried what people might think of me or something like that. It's just like, what is cool? Like I like songwriting. I don't care what the genre is. Like, I just want something that is different and unique and is like a genuine expression of that person. You know, I feel like labels only exist for like a retail environment as
Yeah.
far as my brain goes. It's
Yeah.
like music is music.
Yeah. For me, it's like almost like a mood or feeling thing. You know what I mean? Like I want to listen to something that
Oh, totally.
complements how I'm feeling right now. I don't care who's it by. I don't care what language it's in. Like
Yeah.
I just need to like feel like
Uh-huh.
if it has the bass where I need it right now.
Yeah, I think it's like a really freeing way to engage with art and to learn about different things, but it also can backfire. I was talking with my buddy Jason about this last night. We went to Youngstown last night to see Judas Priest.
Wow, like, that's 2 wilds right there.
Yeah, it was pretty sick.
Where was he playing?
At the Cavelli Center.
Cavelli Center.
Yeah, it's just like a little stadium.
Yeah,
yeah. You know, it was sick. It was really cool. You know, a lot of fun. But
that's where you see Priest is in Youngstown. That's the city. Yeah. That's where you want to be for that.
Absolutely. But you know, it was cool, and we were talking just about like he was telling me about like some band, and I forget. Well, we got into this whole discussion about like the right time and the right place, because he's like me and like you, where it's like he'll listen to whatever, but sometimes like if you're not in the right mood and you hear something, you might be like, oh, that's not for me. And then you don't listen to it for years.
You're right.
And then down the road,
totally,
you hear it and you're like, wait, what the fuck? Why did I not like this when I first heard it? It's so interesting.
Yeah, I missed out on so much good like rap and hip hop in like the like 2010s because I had that attitude, right? And then I go back and I'm like, oh, like, you know, I get back in the Tyler, the Creator or something like that. And I'm like, oh, this is really good. This is another level. But like, I was such a music snob at that point. I was like, oh, this is popular. It's
it's interesting when it's interesting when like really unique voices like Tyler, the Creator, or on a completely different spectrum, but their name begins with the same letter, Tool. These are very based bands.
Yeah.
Right. And I can't understand how Tyler, the Creator, or Tool got as mainstream as they did, being as uniquely themselves as they are.
Well,
it's refreshing.
There it is, you know,
it's
uniquely
refreshing.
themselves. Yeah.
But, you know, it feels like the trope is that like artists don't get big by being themselves anymore. It doesn't feel like that. You know, it always feels like you have to play a certain game.
Yeah.
Or fit a certain mold. But that's not always the case, because there are people like that do seem to make it work. And I guess maybe there's like a certain threshold where it's like, you know, being yourself sometimes, I mean, some people don't get it, but some people can just be themselves so much that it like elevates to getting people being interested again.
Oh, that, I mean,
I don't know.
No, you're onto something, man. Like, it's at a certain level, it's not even about the music, man. It's about like, what ideas do you think this person represents about yourself or the world or the universe or whatever? And you just want to see those ideas reflected, right?
Yeah.
Like, all right, okay. For example, me and my little brother definitely like that's my homie. We see like we're 100% we're 99% on a lot of things, except for when it comes to Kanye, right?
Okay.
Me, not a fan. Haven't been a fan since 808 and Heartbreaks. That's just me. You know, to each his own. Your mileage may vary. But he loves them. But he's not necessarily always talking about, oh, this track. He's this thing. He's like, you know, like him being like rebellious, or, you know, speaks his mind, or, you know, stuff like. So like he is more into the idea of the artist, not necessarily every song. So he didn't even say like, you know what I mean? He like the lyrics on this one suck or whatever. But, you know, it's like the whole persona, like that. That's what people are like trying to match themselves up to. You know, a lot of Taylor Swift fans love the persona of Taylor Swift. I don't know if they like their music. Probably. I'm not one of those. I'm not into it. I'm not talking shit. I don't want the Swifties going after Console of Saturn. But no, but I'm just saying, man, it's just the idea of the thing. That's what people fall in love with. And they just want to see that idea reflected back at them, right? So when I'm playing like, I don't know, video games, right? I have a playlist of just aggressive rap and electronic music, because I need that idea of aggression right now when I'm shooting a bunch of people in a game.
Sure. I mean, like, that's how like an artist like Drake can exist, right? It's the idea of that person, and not the art.
Yeah.
because like I don't know. I mean, obviously that music's not for me.
I think
And
okay.
also like it's like I would not hang out with Drake, I don't think. I don't know if maybe we could have a good conversation. Who knows?
Who knows?
My assumption is that we couldn't.
So I used to be like way snobby about a lot of stuff. I'm still probably am. But um one of my mentors told me at one point, she was like, not everything is here for your scrutiny.
Oh
And
yeah.
that kind of shut me up like,
Totally.
You're totally right.
What's the thing is like, it resonates with them, and like being somebody that was like, like I grew up with like there's how do I put this? It's like I know a lot of the art that I engage with that means a lot to me
Mhm.
is like objectively very dumb.
Oh.
But I enjoy it.
Toy commercial.
Yeah. So
yeah,
it's just like whatever, you know what I mean? It's like, if Drake is your thing, or if
you're at that right
later
age
era
where
Kanye
this is
is
cool
your
to
thing.
you.
I get it. If that resonates with you, cool. Like music for a lot of people was just kind of like, the soundtrack to their life or the
Yeah.
wallpaper of their day.
Exactly.
It doesn't have a much deeper meaning than that. You know what I mean?
That's kind of going back to that's kind of the my idea behind Council of Saturn.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. No one's gonna come to me and be like, man, that I don't know. I'm trying to think of whatever track. Guardian Star is like the best song. I sing it all the time. Like, there's no lyrics in it. It's just it's just a vibe.
Yeah, you definitely have like a different even just like engaging with an audience with music that is instrumental is like a very complicated thing.
Yeah, and to do that, and engage with people that at this age, we all kind of listen to what we listen to. Like I find it so difficult to like get people to sit down and like listen to the thing, because like all my projects are always like long form things. So like we were saying earlier, like I put a transportation mix out, right? Yeah, it's an hour. Here's a live one. It's an hour. You have to commit yourself to this among all the other shit you got going on in a day. And maybe you're just not in the mood, and you're gonna just want to listen to something else. I want to listen to, I don't know, Gloria Stefan or whatever, because that's what I like listen to all the time. I mean, I get it, but in the same sense, I'm like, damn, like I wish, like, I don't know, like how do you get people to consistently engage with your music?
Well, I have live performances, I think, is the best thing you could do.
That's midnight culture this summer.
That's what I think that a sort of personal awakening / reckoning that I've had with my art in regards to music moving forward is just understanding that like the internet and the real world are two different places.
Mm-hmm.
And like I need to engage with those things in different ways.
Yeah, totally.
So, with this Normal Creatures record that is going to be released at some point in time, we're still recording it. But I think like ultimately what I'm going to do is when I release this album, I'm going to treat the online release of it and the real world release of it completely differently. Two different things, like it'll say like, let's say like, oh, this comes out October 1st. Like, yeah, you can come to a show and pick up a copy of this thing October 1st. That's the whole album. If you want to sit down and listen to the whole fucking album, there for you.
Mm-hmm.
But in an online aspect, I'm going to release it completely differently. I'm not just going to dump an hour of music out at once and expect people to listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do it track by track. And I'm getting like art, like individual art made for every single fucking song.
Yeah.
And I'm going to release it all in these blips that are just like 5 minutes of your time once a month. And I feel like it's going to drive way further than being like, here's an hour of music and then next week it's dead because I can't keep promoting the same album.
Exactly.
And I just need to treat those things in different ways. Even the people that engage with my shit online, I was talking about this earlier, like the people would be like, what are you up to? It's like, I know you like my stuff all the time, but you never come to my shows. That's fine. I'm going to accept that. So I'm going to release stuff for you people in a different way, and the people that are coming out to shows in another way. And that's how, I don't know. I think it might work.
I think it's interesting. You just put it out there and you can't really control how people engage with it. Like, I I would ask, people like, oh, hey, I like listen to your song. I'm like, oh, cool. Where'd you listen on Spotify, Apple Music? So, oh no, I saw you posted on Instagram. But I'm like, oh, okay. So it's just one thing in a cacophony of like
Uh-huh.
other sounds. And like at first I found my little heart getting sad because of that. Oh, they didn't sit there and listen to your music in headphones in a quiet room while contemplating life. And I was like, oh, that's just how they're engaging with it.
Totally. And
You can't control that. And
and
I'm
that,
happy they even did.
yeah, and that's another thing too, where it's like that's not even like personal. That's how they engage with everything.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, like it's just like thanks for taking the allotted 20 seconds that you could and thinking positive about it.
Yeah.
Great.
I
mean,
definitely
that's
shifted to like being appreciative of that.
yeah.
And it's like, yeah, man, we're just getting old, right? Like how we'd go to, I don't know, Sam Goody or On Cue. That's what I had.
Okay.
On Cue Music, and you buy your album. I would sit there. I remember when Aquemini came out, it was this whole ritual for me. I had to sit there and buy it, put headphones on, sitting on my back porch, just like in every like nook and cranny of it.
There was like so many records from my high school days that I remember, like, again, like going to the mall, and it would just be like the first time listening to it. I remember like sitting on like a bus with my headphones.
Yeah.
Like, looking at the booklet and things like,
yeah.
I mean, there was even some albums that I remember like I have very specific memories of like listening to it for the first time, like walking around the mall with my headphones on, or like walking, sitting in the food court. Like I have a very vivid memory to this day. If I ever put on Mars Volta, Francis the Mute, I remember very specifically leaving the Best Buy in Monroeville Mall, putting it in my Discman, and walking across the parking lot to get into the mall in the very specific J.C. Penney entrance. And there's like a very like the beginning of that album that starts very quiet, and then like they have like a crazy dB boost when all the instruments come in.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I hear it, I remember being in that fucking parking lot and be like, oh my God, like, just like little dumb memories. But every time I hear it, just makes me think of that Best Buy parking lot.
Yeah.
Just like I attach memories to music in a weird way like that.
I'm the same. Yeah.
And I don't know, but I don't find myself having those moments anymore with a lot of new music, because so much now when I engage with music for the first time, it's like, oh, somebody put out something, and like I'll end up watching like 10 seconds of it on my phone, and then I'm like, oh shit, this sounds cool, like I gotta like wait to listen to it later, and then I'll like forget about it or something like that. And like there's never like that I'm like going to the store to get the album and like actually sit down and
every
engage
now and
with
then.
it.
I mean, there's certain artists that put stuff out that I'll take my time. Like whenever Andre 3000 put out his flute album.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it was a beautiful rainy afternoon. I put it on, made myself some tea. This is probably the intended listening for it. And I just sat there, thought about life, listening to this flute music over a rainy afternoon. Yeah.
Yeah. So what was your what's the word? I mean, what did you think of that whole situation with the Andre album?
Oh,
I found it like it wasn't shocking to me.
No.
I'm not like super interested in it creatively.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess actually that's not even the right way to put it. I think I'm interested in it creatively, but like it's like not for me. I don't know. Like how do I put that? I think you maybe understand what I'm trying to say.
So Andre 3000 is my number one favorite rapper. Always has. I remember getting in arguments with people. It was Biggie, it's Tupac, and I'm like, gentlemen, Andre.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So I've definitely been a huge Outkast fan, and I saw him when they did that tour in 2014 or something. Saw him in Red.
Oh wow!
I saw him in Red Rocks after legalization down there.
Wow!
Oh, perfect.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I have a whole story about that too. But anyways, so I'm just all that to say, this is my guy, top guy, and I know he's just beginning doing his thing, and whenever he put out this album, I was more like proud that this artist, because this like at this point, man, this guy doesn't need money. He doesn't need accolades. He don't give a fuck what anyone thinks. But not in like, like I don't give a fuck, but like, no, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
There's nothing he needs from us. This is just creative expression, that this individual's at. And here's where he's at in his musical journey. I think that is amazing, and I'm like, I'm here for it. I'm here. I love whenever artists just are exploring music space, not just like we were saying, not just eating the same thing at the food court every day.
I imagine it's so difficult to be somebody in his shoes where it's like Outcast reached a level of like almost like, like that Tyler Tool, even bigger, huge,
Huge.
right? Where it's like your art almost doesn't even belong to you anymore. And for so many people that get into that space, that get really popular for a very specific thing,
Mm-hmm.
I think over time it's really easy and probably tempting, especially financially tempting, to just become like a caricature of yourself and basically to spend the rest of your career, or the rest of your life cosplaying as, who you were at one point in time in your 20s.
Andre said that in an interview one time. He's like, man, I wrote this song when I was 19.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think of the songs that I would have wrote at 19. I'm like, no, thanks.
Definitely. That has to be like insane. And I mean, like, it's also like a huge, that's like the ego thing, right? Like, I'm sure there's a wrestling with that ego to figure out like, what side of your ego is going to win. Like, like who I am in my heart, or like who I am in my like wallet, who I am to other people, who I am in the mirror versus who I am in the eyes of other people. Like, that's crazy. I highly doubt I'm ever going to be in a position like that. But like, even on the small scale that I'm at, trying to just create art for my peer group and my friends and my little corner of the world here, I've even felt stuff like that where it's like, oh, I need to keep being this because this is what I've done in the past. So it has to be crazy for somebody in his position.
Yeah, no. So I was like proud of him. And then like the album itself, I'm like, well, you know what I mean? Like this is fine. I've listened to meditative music before and
sure.
Cool. And I'm glad he explored it. I'm not like, I wasn't like freaking out, but I was happy, not like more, how do I say this? He put out this music and people that would normally listen to like atmospheric meditative music are now taking the time out of their day. And I hope whenever they listen to that music, it gave them some time for some self-reflecting or introspection or something like that. So that like I saw that album as a gateway for people that might not normally get into this kind of stuff, to give it a shot.
Yeah.
And maybe they stick with it, maybe they don't. But I thought it was a very like good thing.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's like,
but I listened to it once. I mean, like, I'm like, hey, cool. Like, I'm good.
Yeah. It's just like one of those things where it's like, what do you expect an artist to do? And I hope that like some people that listened to it that were maybe like surprised by it, or like at least took the extra time to understand like what being an artist is like, and how time changes, and how like how you grow, like
growth,
people
that's
grow.
the key word. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's just like a very dramatic receipt of growth for an artist. It's cool. It's cool to see it like displayed at that level.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to hear some rhymes, but if you're not into it, man, I'm not gonna push you. Who am I?
Didn't he do a verse on something in like the past like few years? Like he did like a feature on somebody.
He does a lot of cameo verses, and they're all awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of that. What were we talking about?
Lord knows. We were talking about like listening to music, hearing music for the first time, memories of music.
Okay. Yeah. There's a lot.
Yeah, totally.
Man, what have you been listening to lately?
That's a good question. Most recently I was turned on to a band by my buddy Jason, who I went to Judas Priest with last night, called Rickshaw Billy's Burger Patrol.
Okay. What are they like?
They have like an interesting discography of music where like they've put out music that kind of sounds like the Black Keys. They did this album called Doom Wop that was basically like if like Weezer wrote a doom metal record.
Okay.
It's like really weird, kind of like grungy. And then they just put out another album. The name of the album is Big Dumb Riffs. And it sounds like very like if like System of a Down and Primus made an album together.
Oh. You have
And
my
it's like
curiosity.
very dumb, hyper self-aware,
Uh-huh.
but like it also is interesting because I feel like it's like some kind of like meta critique on artists in that genre that try to be too serious. Like
Hmm.
it just has like this like very like kind of punk rock middle finger, like fuck you, we're writing silly, goofy songs that like musically sound as like tough as anything else, but like lyrically it's very like silly, but in a self-aware, fun way.
Hmm.
How like some System of a Down or Primus can be.
Yeah, yeah.
Like vocally, it's just like so goofy. Like the singer is like it's like intentionally annoying,
Hmm.
I think, but I like it. So that was cool. I really enjoy that quite a bit. But that's like a discovery from like the past 24 hours of my life, right? I
Oh,
don't
it's
know.
brand new.
I don't know how if that's gonna like carry on into my zeitgeist of like things that I want to listen to all the time. But I found that interesting. And it was interesting from the lens of like something in the realm of being heavy. Because one of the things that kind of turns me off with a lot of like modern heavy music is like it's very not self-aware. I find that a lot of people are taking themselves too seriously. There's all of this hyper production where like so much modern metal is borderline electronic music
Uh-huh.
with all of like the production techniques and all of the direct guitar stuff and the plug-in fucking
Yeah.
craziness. It's like it sounds cool. It sounds sonically good, but it sounds very fake to me. So to hear like this record that was like not trying to be cool at all, that sounded like live instruments in a room, very simple, just good, catchy, fun. I was like, this is connecting with me.
Yeah.
So that was cool to hear that. Um Outside of that, I'm having a hard time being really excited about anything. The new tracks that Dua Lipa has been dropping are pretty good.
Who?
Dua Lipa?
Oh, you're putting me on.
So she's just like, somewhat she's like pop, you
Hmm.
know what I mean? But very like disco 80s influence kind of stuff.
Speaking my language, man. I should
Um,
already know.
yeah, I like the production on the stuff that she does. She put out an album a few years ago. You've probably heard some of the songs, but she's in an interesting position where, like, I feel a lot of the versions of her music that are played on the radio
Hmm.
are like radio mixes that have been like kind of scrubbed to be a little bit more accessible.
Yeah.
Where it's like, it's just happened with one of her new songs. So she has this track called Houdini, and like the synth production on it is very like almost like Giallo Goblin era type, like weird, crazy, like
I'm gonna listen to this as soon as I get in my car.
it sounds like so sick, but like the radio version of it has like it's a lot less like spooky sounding. You know what I
it's
mean?
just too scary for a general audience.
But she's cool, and like she put out another song called Illusion. I guess she has like a whole new album coming out pretty soon that I'm interested to hear because I really liked the last one a good bit. And on the same boat of that, like I like a lot of the stuff that Charlie XCX has been doing.
Hmm.
And that's kind of like a similar like pop thing, but it seems like her new stuff is leaning into this like kind of like throwback like early 2000s rave house sort of thing
Hmm.
with like a lot of like weird like vocal samples and loops with her stuff and not necessarily trying to write just like pop music.
Hmm.
And she's done both where she put out this album during the pandemic that's like really interesting where it's just like all this weird like obscure kind of alt pop stuff, and then she put out another album that was like, oh, this is just like a straight up pop album. So she's kind of like playing both those worlds. I like both those artists a lot. um I really like, do you mess with Lil Sims at all?
Nah.
So she's like a UK MC. I don't know if she works with like a steady producer or not, but like all of like the curation of music stuff is crazy. She put out an album a few years ago.
Is it like
Um,
grime music or?
it's a little bit of that. You get like weird stuff where it's like kind of grime. Sometimes there's like kind of like like a drum and bass influence. Sometimes it's just like more like just like kind of just like trap, silly, dumb, like very arrogant sounding stuff, and then stuff that has like crazy like lush instrumentals, like crazy like string sections,
Dude,
and all this like backup vocal stuff where it's like all over the place, right?
You gotta write all these down.
Yeah.
I gotta get in. Like this is all stuff I want to hear.
Yeah, all that stuff is really really cool. So I could probably think of some other stuff too, but those are just like the ones that came off the top of my head.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, anything from like, fun electronic production stuff to just like silly, dumb guys making dumb, heavy music. I like all that.
Yeah. It's
I
like
just like stuff that's like, just like authentic and stuff that sounds like
authentic.
that like triggers something in my head where it's like, oh, like this seems like a unique perspective, just like a creative thing. It doesn't have to be fresh, it doesn't have to be original. I
Mm-hmm.
just want it to feel like, oh, this is like you.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be great. It just you're like the authenticity. I am get for a while I was listening to this genre of music. You ever hear of funk? Punk, like PHONK, not
Uh-uh.
FUNK. All right, so picture like, I don't know, like Memphis, Tennessee, driving around in your mom's Oldsmobile, sipping lean, smoking blunts, boom, like
Okay,
that.
yeah.
That's what it sounds like. You know what I mean? Like, but like the vocals aren't even like always necessarily like good. Like they're like in the mix. It's just like this vibe. Um, so there's a couple artists I like from that, like this cat DJ Smokey and Saudier. Anyway, like I come to find like these are like Canadian and French Canadian people that are making music for this like scene.
Oh, interesting.
There's this other cat I dig, Adam the Shinobi. Like it's fine. Like it's funny because like I'm such a snob when it comes to rap, but the stuff that I like end up listening to, I'm like, this is fine. Like who cares? I'm not. It's just like this feeling, this vibe, you know.
Yeah, it's I hate like giving like the junk food analogy because I feel like it kind of like diminishes the value of art.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's a lot of music where it's just like yeah, this is like a bag of Cool Ranch Doritos, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it's okay to just have like a little snack, a rap
Exactly.
snack.
A rap
Perhaps.
snack, perhaps. Shout out rap snacks.
Yeah. The little Romeo honey barbecue rap snacks.
How crazy! Like you have like, I hope that like that's framed on his wall somewhere
Oh, yeah,
as an
yeah.
adult. It's like, yeah, that's me.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Anyways, yes. I find that it's okay sometimes for that. I think that I almost find like more joy in a lot of ways. Like it's kind of like the equivalent of listening to that record I was just telling you about, the Rickshaw Billy's Burger Patrol.
Mhm.
Just like this is just like fun. And that's great. I don't want things don't have to be fun all the time.
It's like
But
when I was talking about my bad movie nights, right? Like,
oh yeah.
I love them because they're like, yes, they're derivative and predictable and
Well,
not made well and
totally.
everything. But I just like I just have fun watching them, right? And it wouldn't be as fun if my friends were coming over every week and we were watching, I don't know, what's a great film, City of God or something.
Bro, that sounds fucking miserable. Like I think that the other thing too, especially if you're into like the technical aspects of filmmaking,
Mhm.
where it's like you're almost like it's like a master class of what not to do.
Yes. And as stupid as these movies are, I'm like, this is better than my feature. I don't have one out.
Fair.
And like it also reminds me, enough people got behind this stupid cocaine fueled idea to produce, I don't know, I'm trying to think of one of my ones I love, Ninja 3 The Domination, one of my favorite movies of all time.
Uh-huh.
It's about some ninja or this woman gets possessed by a soul of a ninja. It's like Exorcist in a ninja movie. It's great. But but yeah, again, it's not winning any awards. It's not a masterpiece, but it's just fun, and it's fun for me as a film professional. Is like, oh yeah, clear ADR. That's a boom pole microphone. That's an extra.
Yeah.
What shouldn't be in that shot. Just it's just fun to do that, and in a room with other people, and we're all just like laughing and having fun. Again, time and place, right? That's just that's the time and place. Sometimes you just want to have fun. Like I like your analogy with the bag of Doritos. I'm going to use that in the future because that's what it is sometimes, man. And even like I have to remind myself that sometimes, especially when I'm being critical on something someone else likes, or some like stuff kids get into or whatever. You know what I mean? I'm trying to be very conscious when I'm having those old man yells at clouds moments. I'm like, well, you like garbage too, Jordan.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, 100%. It's funny. It's like I feel like I had this there's so much stuff that I listened to when I was younger that I thought was like game changing. We brought up Mudvayne earlier.
Yeah.
Right. Like I remember seeing them open up for Slipknot before that first album even came out, and go into like the CD store. Every time I went, I would check, is there a card? Did the Mudvayne album come out? And I finally got it. I love that fucking album. And then all these years later, I remember trying to like listen to that again. And I was like, this sucks. Like I don't like, it doesn't resonate with me at all in the way that it did then.
It's like sugary cereal.
Yeah, but it's like, hey, like if the music today is making whatever 16-year-old feel the same way that I felt listening to fucking Mudvayne or Mindless Self-Indulgence or Linkin Park or whatever, like
LP.
Great. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like great. Like that's all you could hope for.
I used to edit Dragon Ball Z AMVs to Linkin Park songs. That's how I got started editing. Oh, I thought I was making masterpieces.
That track's so fucking hard.
That was me, man. Early internet. That's what I was.
That's so fucking funny. I could definitely see that.
Yeah.
Oh,
they're long gone. I wish I could dig some of them up. So like even today, I think about some of those edits. I was like, yeah, that was a really good concept.
Oh fuck, I love that. Well, I would say we should probably round the station here on the recording. We've hit 90 minutes. I think that's plenty of time for a podcast. Like we could probably talk for another 90.
Oh,
easy.
We haven't discussed so many things.
I know.
In this room.
I know. I think for the sake of brevity and just we'll cut this here, but I'm sure we'll have another conversation sometime. Every conversation doesn't have to be recorded. We should just fucking hang out.
Yeah, totally. I want to start a podcast eventually.
Okay.
So this was like my like little test run of like, what. That's what I was asking earlier off camera about like, about the building and versus like recording home and recording somewhere else. So just interested in a bunch of.
Definitely. I could definitely give you lots of insight I've done podcasts in every feasible position you could think of.
We should do a podcast about podcasts.
Oh, yes. A podcast on how to start your podcast.
Yes. Presented
by podcasters.
Podcasters.
Yes. On a podcast network. Okay. Anyways. So before we get down any other spider webs of conversations that spiral out of control.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah. We're all good. We're all good. The one thing that you need for a good podcast is like a couple people that don't want to stop talking. That helps. So we've got a good thing going here.
Good.
But for anyone that's still here, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Jordan, if you would kindly like to let these people of the internet know where they can digest some of your creative content.
You could go to all your favorite streaming sites to listen to Council of Saturn and the Capricorn trilogy. You could go to Bandcamp to check out the latest Traxploitation projects. I recommend listening to Hindsight 2020, Traxploitation's best album or best mix to date. And be on the lookout for Midnight Culture, and it will be available on all streaming platforms.
Yeah!
Yay.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much for being here. I'm going to do my little outro.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to stop recording everything. And then, hey, we'll probably talk more about like some sort of like action figure or something.
Yeah, you got that huge Lisa Simpson. We haven't even talked about Simpsons yet.
Oh yeah. I could. Yeah, there's a good story behind that, which I can fill you in on later. But I feel like I need to get like another camera here so people could see the whole room. But maybe it's just like you got to be here to see.
You got to be
room.
here.
Everybody always talks about the rest of the room that's off camera. People don't know.
You got to be here. That makes me feel special.
Yeah.
Not everyone can just see this shit.
Fair enough.
Well, I'm sorry. Finish your podcast. I'm done talking. I'm out of here.
Well, hey, this has been a podcast. This is my outro. What do I normally say during these things? I forget. Okay, well, I say my name, blah blah blah. That's and that's all, folks. Thanks so much for being here one more time. Jordan Taylor, appreciate it. I'll be back again next week with another episode. Same time, same place, same channel. You know the drill. My name is Brian Sykes-Howell. Start the Beat is the podcast. 2024 is the year. And until next time, take care of yourselves, take care of the people around you, and peace. We did it. That was a fucking podcast.